Today I want to talk about what the signing of Fred VanVleet means for the Houston Rockets. I don't think I've done any Houston Rockets videos on this channel, but now is the time to do one. So as you all probably know, Fred VanVleet signed a 3-year, $128.5 million contract according to Spotrac. Now, I kind of think that this contract is a pretty good one for the Rockets. Now, yes, I know some consider it to be an overpay, and yeah, it's for 3 years, and the Rockets, they're kind of already deep at that guard position, but VanVleet really gives the Rockets a lot of what they need here going forward, especially if this young team wants to take the next step and eventually make the play-in or the playoffs by next season. But here's the deal, the Rockets wanted to get more veterans and they wanted more of a defensive identity coming out of this year's free agency. The Rockets didn't really have many veterans on last year's roster, and defensively they just weren't that great. So VanVleet really fills a lot of holes in those areas. And the Rockets, as I mentioned, also wanted to compete for a playoff spot, and getting more, established and productive players like VanVleet, who's 29 years old, has a lot of playoff experience. That was the perfect way to do that. And considering they had over $60 million in cap space, why not offer Fred VanVleet a contract that pays him over $40 million per year? Now, Spotrac kind of has an estimation. They think he'll be paid about $40 million this upcoming season, then having that increase to around $42 and then $44 million. I don't really know, but basically rounded up, VanVleet's contract is around 3 years, $130 million. It's the highest for any undrafted player in NBA history. So honestly, all credit to VanVleet. He's worked extremely hard for this, and hey, the Rockets were able to pry him away from Toronto. But what does VanVleet really bring to the Rockets? So first, I kind of want to go over his story. So he originally came in as an undrafted free agent in the 2017 season. He really didn't get a lot of playing time with Toronto that season. He was pretty much out of the rotation, and I don't really think many people expected much from him. I mean, he's a 6-foot undrafted guard, right? In that sense, he kind of has a low chance of succeeding in the NBA, but he was quick to prove everyone wrong, because the next year he was a runner-up for 6th Man of the Year in that 2018 season. Toronto completely revamped their offense that year, and VanVleet was a huge part of that. Their bench was key to the Raptors winning a franchise record 58 games that year. VanVleet was extremely consistent. He improved his 3-point percentage to over 41%, and he was just a key piece of that team. Unfortunately, the Raptors did fall short that year in the semifinals, getting swept by the Cavs, but it was clear VanVleet would have a huge role for this team for years to come. He was then a crucial bench player in the Raptors title run in 2019. He was excellent in the finals, which propelled them to beat the Warriors in 6 games. VanVleet earned a starting spot in the 2020 season and has been averaging at least 17 points and 6 assists since, with an all-star appearance in 2022. And as I mentioned, though he was barely 6 foot, he was an extremely tenacious defender, he was crafty at the rim, and an excellent tough shot maker, and he became a crucial facilitator for Toronto's offense. Plus, VanVleet, he's coming off his 2 best years as a pro. In the 2022 season, he averaged 20 points on 40% from the field, nearly 38% from 3, 4 rebounds, 6.7 assists, and 1.7 steals. As I mentioned, he was an all-star that year, and he would continue that good play into the 2023 season. This past year, he averaged 19.3 points on 39% from the field, 34% from 3, 4.1 rebounds, 7.2 assists, and 1.8 steals. Now, right off the bat, from looking at his stats and just seeing some of his playoff performances here and there, inefficiency and durability might be a bit of an issue with VanVleet, especially given him around $40 million a year, and given the fact that he hasn't played more than 70 games in roughly 5 years. But honestly, I don't think any of that matters, because personally, his intangibles more than anything else will make up for those possible weaknesses. Because VanVleet, he's going to give the Rockets a leader in that locker room. He's going to be someone who can organize and orchestrate the offense to set up guys like Jalen Green and Jabari Smith for easier shots, and that will hold way more value than if he has a few bad shooting games, because still, he's a tough shot maker, he's a great shot creator, and he can get it going when needed, and he can carry your offense when needed. And with that, VanVleet gives them another score to keep the offense running when Green and Smith are struggling. Because at times last year, the young Rockets had some trouble with inefficiency, and yes, as I mentioned, right, VanVleet wasn't the most efficient scorer, but like I said, he can get hot, he's a very good shot creator, he can shoot well from 3, so I'm not really concerned with that with VanVleet. His playmaking, leadership, and all the intangibles, as I mentioned, will provide so much more valuable than some inefficient shooting here and there. VanVleet also helps out their defense with his communication, leadership, and toughness. You know, he'll fight to get over screens, he'll sacrifice his body to take charges. He's really the perfect point guard in that sense. And it's rare, right? Because normally you don't really rely on like a 6-foot point guard, you know, to anchor your defense like that. But VanVleet, I think, is that good on both ends of the court, so he's really going to help the Rockets out on defense. Also, the Rockets, they're looking really deep next season. They also got the defense of Dillon Brooks with 4 years, $80 million, and they signed longtime veteran Jeff Green, who just won a championship with the Nuggets, for 1 year, $6 million. He will provide some great veteran leadership to that team. And here's the scary part about the Rockets. Maybe they'll be competing for a play-in or playoff spot in a loaded Western Conference this upcoming season. The Rockets' youth, combined with their veteran toughness and leadership, it's going to make them hard to keep up with on both ends of the court, because if Jalen Green and Jabari Smith continue to take steps forward, combined with the leadership that VanVleet and Green and Brooks will bring on the defensive end, as well as the offense that all three of those guys might bring, I think the Rockets might be better than people think. Now, the Western Conference will be competitive, but the Thunder were able to squeeze in a play-in spot, so if the Thunder can do that, I believe the Rockets can too, and Ime Udoka, I think, will be a great coach for this team, bringing them more of a defensive identity, so I definitely like that coaching move there, and I think he's going to gel well with this new roster and all the veterans they added in free agency. And the last thing really is the fast pace of the young guys with the defensive mindset of the vets. This presents a really good formula for winning more games, especially if VanVleet, Brooks, and Green are healthy, and all of them continue their great play from last season. So that's all I wanted to mention about the Rockets. I think they got a pretty scary team heading this upcoming season. Yes, as I said, some people think the VanVleet contract was a bit too large, but I personally really like the deal because it's not too long, and the Rockets will still have cap space in the future to re-sign Jalen Green and Jabari Smith when their rookie contracts are up. So, with that being said, I like the situation the Rockets are in, and I think they will be a formidable team in the Western Conference in this upcoming season. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.